Okay, thank you. I am convening the Energy Environment Advisory Committee meeting for Wednesday, November 29th at 7:02 p.m. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Okay. Patrick Reynolds.
Present.
Ginny Olet.
Present.
Alec Ramirez.
Present. I'm sorry. Okay. Alex Renton.
Joanna Tina present.
Ellen
Reed.
Roberta Blunt.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, excellent. And now...
We also have guests.
Oh, sorry. Yes. You're not officially a member, so I'm sorry, but we have our committee assistant, Lindsay. What is your last name? Butler. Okay. Did you call the roll for the people who are absent? Okay.
Excused Julia Tyson and Bill Riley.
Perfect. Okay. And we are welcoming a new member who was just confirmed by the town council, Ginny Willette. Do you pronounce it Willette?
Yes.
All right. And if you'd like to introduce yourself.
I'm Ginny, and I'm a realtor.
All right. And of course, we have to open for public forum, and there's no members of the public present. So you met in October 25th. I believe there was not a quorum, so you were not officially able to pass September's minutes. Is that correct?
Right.
So we will have to take another vote to pass the September minutes, and there were minutes taken on October 25th, but I don't believe we can actually pass those since you can only vote on it if you were present and there wasn't a quorum present. Is that everybody's understanding of?
You can vote on approved minutes if you believe that the content is correct.
Okay. All right. So do we have the copy of September's minutes that need to be revoted?
No, I didn't know that we had to.
Oh, sorry.
I should have thought about it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the October 25th meeting minutes.
We have
of the
a-
Energy Environment Committee.
Oh, the October?
October 25th. Right.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
September?
The September 27th.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Patrick seconds.
As I recall, there was one, and it's noted in the October minutes too, that there was one word choice that had to be changed because it changed the meaning of the sentence. I think it was formerly when it should have said formally.
Does the person who moves and the person who seconds the motion amend their motion to reflect the adoption of the minutes as changed by the October 25th meeting?
I would like to amend my motion to approve the minutes of September 27th as amended at the
October 20th
meeting.
Yes, and I presume the person who seconded it also.
Yeah.
All right.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we have passed the September minutes, and now we will have minutes from October 25th, which did not have a full quorum. Do we have someone to move the adoption of those minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from October 25th.
Excellent, and do I have a second?
Second.
And Roberta seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have gotten through the nitty-gritty. So item 5 is the presentation of the proposed energy chapter, up for discussion, up for changes, and hopefully with the ability to go ahead and adopt our recommendation to the planning board, who would then recommend it to the planning commission, or is it going to go straight to the planning commission as you understand it?
I think we talked about this last time. So the town, working through the town planner, got a grant for help with the master plan. So they've actually got a contract with the Stratford Regional Planning Commission, where they actually will be rewriting our master plan, and then that will be brought to the planning board. There'll be input and then public hearings. So that's why there's some interest in getting these, our suggestions to them before the end of the year, so that, because they're going to start the process in the new year.
So, okay, so, but my point is it doesn't have to go to the planning board first, it's gonna go straight to the Stratford
You
Regional
send it
Plan.
straight to
Okay,
Bart, the
all right.
planner, the town planner.
My suggestion is, because this is rather long, and I know Joe has some significant updates on CPC&H, that we just do item 6 and have Joe do his update to CPC&H first, and then we'll move to the master plan. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. Joe,
Do
you can take over my computer.
Do you have,
It's also a touchscreen.
Okay, so this is the current timeline, okay, for Ginny and those that are new. Newmarket has agreed to join Newmarket Community Power. We've created an entity called Newmarket Community Power, okay? And what that'll do is Newmarket is joining with 50 other, or in total 50 other communities, 29 other communities, to purchase power and make it available to their residents. The town council recently approved the plan to go ahead, basically to move on to the next step. So here's the timeline for what's going to happen for the next year.
Can I explain CPC&H for Ginny at least? So a couple years ago, and it was made possible by legislation, an organization which is made up, and we were one of the founding members, it's made up of towns and counties, called Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, was created. And it is essentially, by all of these communities coming together, public communities coming together, creating an alternative power company. And what our member communities do is essentially create their own power company as an alternative to Eversource through this big coalition of communities. So this big coalition is the one that hires all the experts to procure different energy sources. And what they've done, they just started launching the first 11 communities, launched at the beginning of this year, towards the beginning of the spring. And they are able to provide a higher, much higher in some cases. I think they've launched at 100% renewable energy, still cheaper than the standard plan under Eversource. So it's a really great scheme of how we've managed to do this. Newmarket was a founding member. We just recently adopted, and I should say as background that kind of goes along with it, last year we also adopted a resolution committing Newmarket to 100% renewable electricity by 2030 and energy for fuel and heating by 2050. But now we've adopted our own Newmarket energy plan, which will become Newmarket Community Power. So starting in the spring of this upcoming spring, 2024, people's default power supplier will no longer be Eversource. They can stay with Eversource if they want. They have to opt out of going over to Newmarket Community, but you would be getting your energy from this publicly funded, publicly operated power or electricity procurement plan. So your energy, the transmission is still Eversource, so you'll still be paying the bills to Eversource, but we are the ones the community is the ones that are procuring the energy. So this committee did a lot of work to create, or help, or work with CPC&H to create that plan. The town council adopted it, which Joe's a member of, and I'm sorry I gave all that background.
That's good.
But that's what we are planning now, is this timeline for moving over to Newmarket Community Power from Eversource as our default provider.
All right, so here's the current timeline. Barring any major political issues or something like that, I expect that this is what will happen. Okay, so Newmarket Community Power is set to launch with what Community Power is labeling as Wave 2. They will officially launch in March of 2024. Wave 2 is composed of 11 communities, including Durham, Stratham, Newmarket, and a couple of other communities, but Durham and Stratham are local to here. So here's Friday, December 15th. CPCNH, the CEO, will announce what the winter rates are going to be. The winter rates take effect February 1st, 2024, and they're good for 6 months through July. As of the 15th, CPCNH will know what Eversource, Unitil, what those other companies, or electric supply companies are, what their rates are going to be. So CPCNH can actually come in with a lower rate at that point in time. So he's doing that on Friday the 15th. Wednesday, December 20th is a town council meeting. The town manager will announce whether he recommends launching Newmarket Community Power. And we've specifically said in our proposals and everything that in order to launch, there has to be two basic things. One, the rates have to be lower than Eversource, and it has to be in the best interest of Newmarket residents. And I spelled residents wrong.
Wrong residents. It's my birthday, so Steve better deliver.
So, December 20th. On December 21st, CPCNH, the Risk Management Committee, has a meeting where they will approve or recommend to the CPCNH board the rates that the CEO has proposed. Assuming that they say, yes, the Risk Management Committee agrees with those rates, they will approve it and pass it on to the Board of Directors. On the 21st, the Newmarket Town Manager will inform CPCNH that Newmarket agrees to launch with Wave 2, and he will specifically state what they want for a default service. There's 4 services that you can buy. There's Granite Basic, Granite Plus, Clean 50, and Clean 100. Granite Basic is 24%, roughly 24% renewable energy. Granite Plus is 33% renewable energy. Clean 50 is 50%, and Clean 100 is 100% renewable energy.
By comparison, Eversource will be 22%. Their stuff plateaued at 22%. So even the most basic service would be more sustainable than Eversource's.
There is a slight increase in the rate, the kilowatt rate between Granite Basic, Granite, as you go up, the cost is a little higher. I'm assuming, I don't know this for a fact, but the town manager will probably recommend us going with Granite Basic for this first time around, which is the cheapest rate.
Important to note, though, that residents can still opt in to whichever of those plans they want, even if the default is Granite Basic. As a Newmarket resident, you can opt in for Clean 100 or Clean 50 or whatever.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, yeah, fill in the blanks, I appreciate it. On Thursday, December 28th, CPCNH Board of Directors will actually approve the winter rates. That's when they become technically official. A little wrinkle here in that although this date is after Newmarket committing to going live, the rates can't be any different from what the risk management approved on the 21st. So even though the Board of Directors is approving it, officially approving the rates after Newmarket has committed, there's zero, never say zero, but little chance that the rates are going to be different. Better not be different. Okay. So on Monday, January 22nd, Community Power will send out a mailing to all the Newmarket residents saying your town has elected to go with Community Power, Newmarket Community Power. A website will go live, the Community Power New Hampshire Gov Newmarket. People can go into that. They can opt out. They can say, I want to stay with Eversource, or they can actually go in and they can say, say the town decided to go with Granite Basic or whatever, the lowest rate. People can go in and say, no, I want to go with 50% clean power. They have that option, okay, option to opt out, or to change the thing. And also, too, there will be some people that, if they're net metering, there are certain customers that will not get a letter or will not automatically be enrolled. They have to actually enroll themselves. Those are net metering customers, and we'll talk about that in a second. People also have the ability to opt in if they want. So that's on the 22nd. So here's our first thing. Within 15 days of January 22nd, the mailing, we have to have a public information session. I suggest that on the January 31st, we have a meeting scheduled that we do January 31st for that public session. We can talk a little bit more about some
And
other
Henry
stuff
will be
that we
coming
have.
to this, right?
Henry may not be that one, we can probably wing it.
Oh, nobody from CPC&H will present for us?
I'm a director on CPC&H and I can
Okay, all
probably do
right.
a better job than I'm doing here, but I can do it. Okay. In March, the Newmarket residents are actually switched over to Newmarket Community Power, and then in April, people get their first bill from Community Power. Okay. Any questions on the timeline? All right. So what do we have to do next? One, we have to agree on a public information session date. Assuming the January 22nd mailing goes out on January 22nd, the meetings technically has to be between January 22nd and February 5th. So, again, I'm suggesting that we have a meeting the
I think that's-
31st, that we do it on the 31st.
I think that works well.
Is that
Do you
okay?
know if that
Me too.
conflicts with any other kind of town event
No,
or meeting?
that's our regular scheduled Energy and Environment Committee meeting, and there's nothing else scheduled that night.
And I will bring up a technicality that is also worth bringing up for Ginny and anybody else who doesn't remember. So we actually have two hats. We have our EE hat, which is the Town Energy and Environment Committee, but also when we joined Community Power Coalition New Hampshire, our requirement as a town was to also have an energy aggregation committee, which we double task as. So we can become, whenever we need to, become the energy aggregation committee for CPC&H. So it's the EAC that actually is supposed to hold that public information session, as I understand it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
But that's us as well. So it's the same people. It's just we will be convening, at our EE meeting, we'll be convening a meeting of the EAC.
And we need to talk at some point in time about what are we going to do going forward. I think part of our responsibility is to kind of monitor the program and make recommendations to the town council, stay with the program.
Right.
Offer granted plus whatever.
Right,
as
I
the
would
basis
like
for
to,
fall.
once they come up with their, the CEO offers the rates that he thinks that they'll have, it'll be interesting to see, because then we can actually recommend a plan as the default. If Clean 50 is, like this last time, Clean 100 was cheaper than basic Eversource, 22%, right? So like, if we can get Clean 100 for cheaper than Eversource, then why wouldn't we do that? Because consumers will still be saving money over Eversource, and yet it'll be completely clean. So, I mean, I would push for that particular, path forward if that's available to us, but we don't know what the prices would be.
Well, again, I think we should talk about it at some point in time, that
Yeah.
part of our job should be to kind of like monitor that program and make
It is.
recommendations.
It is, yeah.
So after the town council meeting of December 20th, then we can start our public information campaign, okay? And I have a couple of suggestions here. I have talked with Henry. CPC&H will supply us 1,000 8x, cards similar to that. They'll be slightly different. They'll have the Newmarket Community Power logo, and some of the wording will be slightly different. And they'll also talk about the website that they can go into to log.
Just lost
You want to do that?
Oh, is it dying?
Oh, there we go.
No, it's good battery.
Okay.
No, what, oh, there it is, okay. Go for it.
So it'll have some additional information on there. He also supplied 2 large posters and 2 banners. I'm not sure what the size of the banners are. He said it's about the size of a tablecloth. Not really sure what that means. I've seen Henry tomorrow. I'll get some more information.
I would really love the town council to allow us to have the LED screen, the thing when there's like an election or whatever, and they have
Coming?
that, and just say, hey, community power coming, whatever
Yeah.
date.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That was
Oh,
down here. I
it's
said,
in
what
there?
else can
Okay,
we-"
never mind.
No, I don't have that one, but I said, what else can we do? But
Yeah.
okay. January 23rd is the primary, so I thought maybe we could have a table at the primary and hand out those cards or whatever, and have the posters up. You can also put maybe a table up in the outside the clerk's office upstairs. Facebook, what else?
Can we do the library?
Yeah, you can do anything you want, I mean, up suggestions, and, anytime after December 20th, between December and January, so, if we have a meeting in December, perhaps during that meeting, we can finalize everything what we're gonna do.
Sounds good.
Um,
We do need a social, I would say, a comprehensive social media kind of strategy. I know that we're supposed, do you know anything about when we're gonna get like our social media accounts and all of that?
I don't.
Okay.
I will ask.
Yes, Steve, we talked about it at the meeting of chairs, that we would have like official social media accounts. I don't know if we're supposed to create those ourselves but like, there has to be rules, like, for example, we have to close off comments because if a quorum of us were to comment on a post, then it's a unnoticed meeting, for example. So, yeah, it would be great to have that in place for as many social media as we can before we need to do this campaign.
Before end of December.
Yeah.
Peter has been trying to re-establish me as an administrator on the Facebook account he created a couple years ago, and I have to get back to him. He sent me a link. He sent me a screenshot to show me that I am now listed as an administrator. When I go to that account through my Facebook account, I can't access any administrative functions. I can't even see a list of who's administrators, so I have to get back to him and ask him, can you link me to the page you had a screenshot of? I've got to figure out why I can't get into that. But I think it would be better for the town to create.
Right, I mean, it's a moot point if the town creates it. If Steve would rather us just create our own, then we can go with that one and figure out the technical aspect.
Yeah.
So that's it. I would suggest that at our December meeting that we finalize, set an agenda item to finalize, okay, what it is that we're actually gonna do.
Great. That will probably be, because hopefully the master plan suggestions will be out of the way by then, so hopefully that'll be really the work we get into in December.
Joe, is this the mailer that will go out, a mock-up of the mailer?
No, the mailing will be like a form letter. They may
It's
include
official.
something like that in it, but,
All right. But this is great for maybe handing out or,
well, again, we're gonna get 1,000 of these cards, but they're gonna be slightly different. It'll have the Newmarket logo on it,
Yeah.
community power, and it'll, have some slightly different wording.
okay,
More communities and whatever on it.
great,
Awesome.
great, yeah. That would be really awesome.
I'm so excited.
Okay, that's all I
Is
got.
that's all you got? Thank you,
Questions,
Joe.
comments?
Any discussion?
I would just say too, I mean, if anybody, I don't know, my artwork down there is a little bit lacking.
Get a stack and take it?
If anybody
Yeah, I'll distribute
has
it.
ideas,
Yeah.
go for it.
Awesome.
You can leave some at the library.
Please do. You want to take a stack for the library? I'll take a stack from the apartment building and,
Okay, yeah.
all right. Anybody else have neighbors or whatever, you can leave it at people's doors, and give it to your friends who are in town. Any other discussion on the updates? I think that was an excellent update. Thank you, Joe. I will take this back. Okay. So now, just as for it's trying to connect. I did log into the network. Yes. "10 minutes. Man, they got stingy. It did not used to be 10 minutes, I don't think. You get 10 minutes at a time. So as, for background and context, I'm good. Context, when the town passed the resolution last year, 2022, it said that we are, as a town, committing to, or aspiring, I think we changed the name. There was this national push to get towns to commit to reaching 100% renewable energy by 2030. And we kind of joined that. We changed the word to aspire, but it's this resolution anyway. There's nothing binding in it. And in that it said, and we will create a comprehensive plan to get us there. So this has kind of been part of that comprehensive plan. At the same time, it was time for us to overhaul our master plan, and Patrick's on the planning board, and kind of is our representative from the planning board. And so we, as a committee, wanted to offer our suggestions to include, there was no energy chapter, there was no real reference, much of any reference to energy in our master plan as it existed. So understanding that we have to have a comprehensive energy plan and we want that to be part of the overall plan, we decided to recommend changes to the master plan since they were doing it anyway. So we could not have, unless we did this in additional meetings more than once a month and people really didn't have the bandwidth for that, we couldn't, as a committee, do this plan all, as a committee, and we can't do it outside of noticed meetings because then it's an unnoticed meeting, so, in a legal meeting. So Roberta and I kind of been a little tiny task, kind of a task force to work on this, and so we've been doing it the last couple of months, or a few months even, and so this is what we have. A lot of this originated out of Lebanon and Rise master plans that do contain substantial energy sections, but we changed a lot. So, Newmarket master plan, these are our proposed sections and updates. In reviewing the Newmarket town policies and master plan, the energy and environment, and I should say also, Joe wrote a lot of this initially as well. The Energy and Environment Advisory Committee found the documents to be lacking in energy policies and planning. The Energy and Environment Advisory Committee proposes 2 major changes to the Newmarket master plan. The first change recommended is the addition of a list of guiding values in the master plan vision section to include the guiding values of sustainability, environmental conservation, and a commitment to renewable energy. Secondly, the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee also strongly recommends the addition of an entirely new energy chapter to comprehensively plan for Newmarket's energy future. So the first suggestion is adding, and this is something Lebanon does, which we understand we didn't have here in Newmarket. In reviewing the master plan, the committee felt it was difficult to state the town's commitment to planning in a sustainable way without first listing the values to which the town should hold in all of its planning decisions. Other towns have included such lists in introductory sections of their master plans, and we feel that in order to emphasize that the principles of environmental stewardship and sustainability must inform all of our decisions, Newmarket would do well to adopt a similar section, which should include the guiding values of sustainability, environmental stewardship, and renewable energy. The following is offered as an example only, predominantly taken from the town of Lebanon, New Hampshire master plan. So this is just an example. We can't, it goes outside of our purview to recommend the other values that would be in a list of guiding values, but these come out of Lebanon. So they have like a guiding value to community access and engagement, sense of place. Their third one is environmental responsibility and energy efficiency. And we wordsmithed this section a little bit and made more notes, because as we understand it, since the Stratford Planning Commission is going to be writing this anyway, really we just want to offer them guidance. We don't really need to be super specific. Roberta, since you helped me, would you like to read that third one? I hate reading the...
can't see from this
Oh,
one.
does anybody want to do that? Because I hate hearing my own voice.
Read the whole thing?
Starting with a healthy natural environment.
A healthy natural environment in turn sustains human physical, mental, and physical health. Scientific data and practical experience confirm the value of identifying, avoiding, minimizing, and repairing environmental harm. We benefit from clean air, abundant drinking water, productive soil, and diverse ecosystems. Protecting and strengthening our community natural resources enhances our economy and capacity to withstand floods, droughts, and other potential disasters. Conserving green infrastructure, a network of open spaces, waterways, and other natural areas is vital to this effort. Partnering with citizens, landowners, schools, business organizations, and other governments we can responsibly enjoy natural assets now and for many years to come. Newmarket Town departments should lead by example in following or exceeding best management practices for all operations. For example, energy efficiency is critical to environmental health and community prosperity. Effective energy master planning should help promote energy conservation and substantial technologies and make those technologies and resources available and accessible to all members of the community, regardless of socioeconomic status. This needs a fully developed discussion of energy efficiency.
It was our added note, yeah. And then just some more example values on this kind of example list that would be at the beginning of a master plan. Hold on. The next one was economic, sorry, Joe, thank you for reading that.
Okay, so the bottom line is guiding value number 3 kind of sets the framework for what our chapter should contain.
Right. And I think more importantly, what we're saying is, as the EE committee, we want to make sure that any master plan that moves forward says that environment and clean energy are core to all of our decision-making processes moving forward. That if we make a decision, we should always be taking into account the first of all, clean energy, because that's a commitment that we have, but also the environment as a whole. So the other example values are economic vitality. Again, all of this is from Lebanon. Fiscal responsibility and regional partnerships. And we mentioned that we could add specifics about renewable energy and public transportation and EV chargers, et cetera, to the regional partnerships. That kind of touches on what the big recommendation, which is recommendation or suggestion number 2, the new chapter entitled Energy. I have put an outline of the suggested new chapter up front, and I'm going to go over the outline first to kind of get everybody's head wrapped around what we're suggesting, and then we can kind of dive into the details. And I will say we're at 7:34 right now, so I'm hoping we can get through it by 8. So the outline, the first section is the introduction. That's what cites the enabling RSA that allows us to have this energy chapter. The second section is vision, which is just kind of a broad statement of what we want to see regarding energy in the town. The third section is energy objectives, which primarily consists of the fact that we did pass 100% renewable energy aspiration resolution, 100% renewable electricity by 2030 and fuel for heating and transport by 2050, which I honestly think we can beat at this point. Number 4, the fourth section is the energy profile of the town. Joe did a lot of good work. Peter had done some really great work on this beforehand, but we're going to let the Planning Commission kind of take over and fill in some more data, but I'll show you what we have. So that's the idea that we're assessing what our current usage is, and hopefully the Planning Commission can help us with projected usage. What are we going to need? Because there's a whole bunch of factors that come into that. So on the one hand, in general, energy usage has always gone up because populations increase, people get more and more technology in their homes, and you have to use that energy to power those technologies. But at the same time, we're also increasing efficient technologies, so that's a decreasing force. Also, people are transitioning to plug-in hybrids and electric cars, which will be a huge energy demand spike. So all of these things really need to be informed by people who have the bandwidth and are being paid to do the hard research to inform that. So, but we do have a section, a beginning of a section for the energy profile. And then the real heart of the recommendation is the 5th section, which is actions, and this is the list of actions that we are recommending be included in the master plan. So I can just go really briefly through these. So the idea that we are going to move to 100% renewable electricity by 2030. This involves starting wherever we're starting with Newmarket Community Power, primarily at whatever percentage, but then increasing that percentage by a certain amount every year until we get to 100% by 2030. Also, as part of Newmarket Community Power, it's not only that we buy power, green energy from other sources, we also have the option to use the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire to help us create our own energy generation projects. That's beneficial for a couple big reasons. First of all, creating our own generation projects is something like a solar array field in town using town land, or retrofitting the dam for hydroelectric, for example. The reason these are really great to consider, if they're cost effective, is A, you can guarantee a affordable rate in the long term. You're not so much at the whims of the market, but B, it guarantees our energy security. We become more energy independent. So that's something we would like the town to look into long term. Prioritization for access to renewable energy and efficiency projects for low to moderate income households was a big thing, because for the most part, wealthier homes, that market is already saturated for these technologies. If people of means want solar panels, they usually have solar panels because they can afford them. We want to make sure low to moderate income households also have access to this. D, maximize municipal property and vehicle efficiency. So that's just making sure that the town properties and the town fleet are as efficient as possible. E, incentives for private sector to build renewable generation and maximize energy efficiency. We'll get into some potential incentives. We kind of get repetitive in this whole section about what those incentives can be. F, overhaul town planning to maximize sustainability. So that's things like making sure you have a walkable and bikeable town, reducing miles driven or vehicle miles driven. G, plan for comprehensive multimodal transportation. That's where we get into the transportation talk that happened last time, but then we'll touch on that when we get there. But we had what I understand was a really interesting discussion with Carol Gulla, and some really interesting ideas came out of that. H, conduct education and outreach, which is kind of a give me, and I is prepare for the effects of climate change, so increased weather patterns, et cetera. So within this 5.0 actions, then it gets into more nitty gritty. 5.1 deals with efficiency, and each of these kind of break down into what we do for public properties, town-owned properties, versus what we do for incentivizing private residents and businesses. So what we do for efficiency, 5.2 is electricity procurement, what we purchase, and then considering what are we purchasing, and then town energy generation projects.
It's actually 24.3% starting in 2024.
Excellent. That's for the basic, right?
Right, yeah.
Hello? Oh, it's not connecting.
Plus is 33%.
I think we should petition the town to change it from 10 minutes to an hour. 10 minutes just seems kind of, so you said 24 or 23?
24.3 for,
Come on, connect. Thank you for that correction. So it's probably more like 12% a year, and that's just a ballpark suggestion. I think you determine that year by year, or we determine it every time we approve a default plan. But the idea is we are saying for long-term planning purposes, we want to keep an eye towards increasing that minimum as much as we can and still be affordable to reach the 2030 goal. We also want to consider what types of renewables we're purchasing. Again, considering now we're getting into the redundancy, because we kind of did the overview, and now we're going into the same thing that we just went over on the overview, but more in detail. Town energy generation projects, like a solar field, like joining with neighboring towns, or doing standalone Newmarket projects, retrofitting the dam, and then the idea that we could actually buy, have kind of a decentralized town solar field, so to speak, by purchasing up front people's solar panels for their houses with a fixed rate that they then pay us back, and pay us back for the solar panels. I think, wasn't that your original idea, Patrick? Or something along those lines?
The only thing that I advocated for is the Department of Energy, the U.S. Department of Energy, has a program where you can access their database, and it will show you in your town all of the best houses to put rooftop solar on. And then from there, you know, you could work with people to see if that's something they want to do, or we also talked to Henry about that as we get further down the road with Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, there might be opportunities to create our own solar buyback programs with our own residents.
Right.
That's a few years down the road.
Oh,
though.
absolutely.
That's not something that could happen right away, but it's definitely something we should look at. I mean, I don't know that we know enough to know exactly what that would look like, though.
No, I know, and this is why I'm suggesting we bring it up as something for the planning commission to consider adding to our long-term master plans.
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's
I
all
think
long-term
just
stuff.
Yep, there's opportunity there for sure.
Great.
Just something to add, that the rates under community power, a certain percentage of every rate, the rates go into a reserve fund. And once community power reaches a reserve where they have enough that they can run for 6 months, whatever, should they need to, anything over that, then is supposed to, at some point in time, get distributed back to the cities and towns to allow them to do projects. And so that's
Right.
where our committee can also come in and say, hey, you've got X amount of dollars coming down the line, you know, how about
Right.
project A, project B?
And I failed to mention that the funding for both a potential future, possible future, either like a municipally owned like solar field, for example, or retrofitting the dam, or this decentralized, you know, buyback plan where we buy the upfront solar panels and then have people pay us back for it over time through their rates, that any of that could actually be coming from our revenue generated by the community power in the long term, because obviously you do need to get to that point. I should probably make sure that's included or mentioned. And then the private incentives, we talked about a potential, and this could also be funded by revenue from community power in the long term. But the idea is that any of these things, even the decentralized solar panel idea, could be limited to LMI households if we wanted to make sure that it was only going to people who otherwise wouldn't be able to, because we don't want to buy people solar panels when they can already buy their own solar panels. We want to increase the total number of solar panels, and the way to do that is to make sure you're doing it for households who will never be able to buy their own. The private incentive that we kind of talked about as an idea, and again, these are all just ideas. They're ideas of ideas of ideas. They're suggestions to the planning commission that will come up with something based on our suggestions, but maybe not 100% adhering to them, which will then go to the planning board, which will then go to the town council. So it's really just a suggestion of a suggestion of a suggestion of a suggestion. But the idea is that if, for example, someone who is below the town median income, household income, and the town property assessment were to buy a solar system, for example, they might be able to get in a projected, proposed scheme, 50% of their property tax exempted for, say, up to a certain number of years. I just put in 5, up to the cost of the system. So if you pay $5,000, which is pretty low, for your property tax every year, and you bought a $20,000 system, you would get $2,500 off every year for 5 years, which wouldn't pay for the whole system, but it'd be a significant amount to offset the cost. So that's just one idea. Purchasing private rooftop, we already covered that one. And then programs for multifamily HOAs is another thing we want to make sure that we are covering everybody, and we talk about what we could do for landlords, because on the one hand, we want to focus on LMI, on the other, and we also want to focus on housing affordability, but we want to make sure they all have access to clean energy. And so what we talk about further down in the actual document is the idea of, for example, giving property tax exemption or buying those panels in exchange for guaranteed workforce housing rates for rentals, which Newmarket, as a town in New Hampshire, has a legal mandate to reach certain levels of workforce housing affordability. So that was 5.2. 5.3 is transportation, which we go into the same scheme, what we do for public, what we do for private. And then 5.4 is the last section, which is heating, same thing. But we do have the 100% aspiration by 2050. So that is the outline. And really the heart of it is that section 5, which just took us a long time just to even get through the outline. As a committee, we have already gone through the introduction section, which is really standard. So this is where we're getting into the actual recommendation. So the introduction is really standard, just cites the RSA that allows us to do this. Does anybody need it read to them? I'm going to make sure everybody has this shared. Section 2.0 is vision. It's just really a short section saying how important the environment is and sustainable development and all of those things. Does anybody need to go through the details of that? I think a lot of it comes from Joe and Lebanon or Rye. 3.0 is those energy objectives. We're really just mostly just citing the resolution that passed. Oh, was it? No, it was 2022. Yeah. And then here's the energy profile of the town of Newmarket. It's broken into the private, like residential and commercial usage. And then we want to, the pink is kind of like a note to the Planning Commission to say we would like more research here. So we would like to see what growth projections are. 4.2 is the usage profile for the municipal facilities, including town vehicles. And then, Joe, did you have anything you wanted to mention about these charts, since I think you were the one that researched this?
That was just an example of
Yeah.
something that Sean, or the Environmental Services Group, had already done. And, showed a significant decrease in electric utilization and how much they saved. It's just kind of an example of what could be done
Right,
with a little bit of effort.
right.
Great kudos to Sean and his team, because he's always on top of things.
And then 4.3 is the energy profile of Newmarket transportation, so that would include private vehicles, public transportation, and again, something we're wanting the Planning Commission to do the research for us on. But the idea is that we can't really do a long-term plan for energy if we don't understand the energy we're currently using and the energy we're going to need long-term. So we hope that they will help with that research. And so here is the 5.0, the big 5.0 that that's the real meat of it. So I'm really tired of hearing my voice. Does anybody want to to take over? I hear you clearing your voice.
All right, section 5, actions. In order to achieve the aforementioned objectives, using the best available information and options, we recommend the following actions. Short and long-term community actions. Enact Newmarket Community Power through the Community Power Coalition, establishing Newmarket's own publicly owned electric provider that provides a 100% renewable plan and has a higher renewable portfolio for the default plan in comparable or better costs than Eversource, and increase the renewable portfolio of the default plan every year to achieve 100% renewable sourcing by 2030 for public and private electric usage.
Does anybody, let me just put out there, because this is long, if anybody has discussion on any of these items, to not wait, but just kind of insert. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Go ahead.
Number 2, in order to maximize cost efficiency and energy security, consider building Newmarket municipal-owned energy production as part of Newmarket's community power energy procurement, including the possibility of town photovoltaic fields, retrofitting dams for hydroelectric, and decentralizing town solar arrays by offering to build town-owned solar arrays on private property in exchange for a fixed electric rate to be paid to the town until the array is paid off. provide residents with energy audits and adopt incentives such as a property tax exemption, PTE, for renewable energy and efficiency improvement projects. RSA 7227A allows municipalities to adopt property tax exemptions for solar energy systems. RSA 7261, wind power energy systems. RSA 7266, for wood heating systems. RSA 7270, for example, a town program could be created whereby a privately purchased photovoltaic system could qualify a property owner up to 50% credit towards property tax, taken yearly for a maximum of 5 years, or until the total tax credit taken equals the value of the system. Similar programs could be created for improved insulation and other major efficiency improvements. Prioritize incentives and programs and make renewable energy systems and improve efficiency technology available to low to moderate income families and renters. As the market for such technologies is already saturated for high income households. Aforementioned PTE referenced in 5.0 item 3 could be limited to low to moderate income households or to owners of rental housing, with the stipulation that the restrictive covenant is recorded in the registry of deeds in order to enforce compliance for such housing with the definition of workforce housing pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 76458 IV as it pertains to rental housing, and definition of affordable pursuant to 674.58I. That's a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, does anybody need explanation of what that means, or does everybody, I don't know what to say if nobody says anything. Moving on? Okay.
Maximize energy efficiency from municipal energy use by setting yearly targets for reducing energy by focus on efficiency technology for building and municipal operations, vehicle fuel use, and outdoor lighting, etc.
Sorry, we have one more note between Roberta and myself that I didn't take care of, but that's irrelevant.
And what's it, yes, parts of,
So the outline for this, she was pointing out, because in the outline, I didn't go into these details, I just said incentives for private sector, and I was pointing out that the incentives for private sector are the items 3, 4, 6, 7, and 9 through 12 on this list.
Oh,
Those are all incentives for the private sector.
oh, okay.
Sorry. Proof that we were working.
Number 6, utilize principles for smart growth and sustainability in land use planning that maximizes walkability and bikeability and reduce vehicle miles driven in town, as well as protect natural resources, land, water, wildlife, to maintain the amount of carbon fixed or sequestered,
Yep, sequestered.
to maintain the amount of
To maintain the
carbon
amount of
fixed or
carbon fixed or sequestered. You can say that, to maintain the amount of carbon fixation or sequestering, I guess. You could say it either way grammatically.
What's sequestered carbon? What does that mean?
When you trap it.
Oh, okay.
So, like, for example, the charring process, when you create charcoal, not when you burn charcoal, but when you create charcoal, you are taking carbon out of the atmosphere and fixing it into
Oh.
not in the air.
So, yeah.
Number 7, complete an audit of zoning ordinance, land development regulations, and master plan to identify barriers that exist and existing incentives that support implementation of energy efficiency measures. Support an integrated multimodal transportation system to reduce vehicle miles driven that includes increased walkability, encourage bicycles and other efficient modes of transportation, and create a town public transportation service for all transportationally challenged residents, such as town-run rideshare service.
So that's a term. Transportationally challenged is, in fact, a term. In fact, Lake County of Florida has a system they call the Lake County Express. And all over their website, it's transportationally challenged.
I thought you made that up.
No, I did not.
Encourage business owners and residents to develop energy efficiency improvement plans. Encourage public and private participation in technical and financial assistance programs to reduce energy costs and consumption. Encourage public and private participation. Plan for how to address existing and potential climate change impacts and conduct education outreach for residents regarding such. So, develop an integrated educational program on energy efficiency resources and conservation methods, outreach plan, and workforce training program. Are we getting beyond energy and?
So this was from, there are artifacts that are remaining from the Lebanon plan that I just didn't delete.
Okay.
But-
I would say
Transportation-
we leave it in here and see what.
Yeah, why not?
Transportation intersects with
Well,
energy policy because the more public transportation you can provide, the less need people have for their individual cars.
I think he was talking about climate change.
Oh,
Were
okay.
you talking about climate change?
You know, when we got into the workforce training programs.
Oh, I'm sorry, that is definitely an artifact from theirs, and that is what I understood to be, and maybe I should clarify, like green energy jobs.
Okay.
So,
That would make more, that would fit in.
training for jobs around this issue. Yeah. Yeah, because I thought it referenced it because it's an integrated education program on energy efficiency, resources, and conservation methods. And then I thought workforce training program, was within that context. Workforce training, green, how about just, trying to connect. Oh, you're awesome, thank you. Hold on, no, I know, I gotta sign in again because it won't let me.
You only get 10 minutes.
Yeah, but I've just been given the keys to the kingdom.
No, that's the,
Oh, no, I have to,
different Wi-Fi.
different Wi-Fi. So sorry, I have to go down here. Thank you. Net 3.
Yeah, the Newmarket, the
Nope,
town
keep that.
Oh, sorry. I thought yeah.
doesn't do the 10-minute thing. So, TV does.
Thank you. As long as I put it in. Oh, yay. Okay. Should connect any second now. Yay. All right. And green sector. All right?
Okay.
Okay.
Support regional, state, and national national actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Encourage other actions that support energy efficiency and conservation, energy security, and cost savings.
Okay. So, thank you for getting us through that initial. Did you have your hand up, Alex, or did you just
No.
move? Okay. I was just really hoping somebody somewhere would would say something. So, Roberta, where did the header for this go?
Which header?
5.1?
5.1 was the one that kept ending up in the footer.
Well, okay, there's a header right here that should say 5.1 efficiency,
It has to be added back in.
and we have to add it back in because we had some major formatting problems.
Problem being Roberta doesn't know how to use Google Docs.
So that was the overview of the recommended actions, and then we get into those specifics, 5.1 energy, 5.2, whatever 5.2 was. Are there any comments? What I'm going to do is make sure everyone has access to this. We can't, like I said before, work on this like a Google Doc, because any commenting becomes an illegal meeting. So everybody can.
Just to be clear, we can work on it independently.
Yes.
Okay.
But we can't work it on it as a Google Doc, as a shared Google Doc. So I will make sure everybody's shared, but comments will not be enabled.
I have a suggestion. Turn the Google Doc into a PDF that you can attach to an email, and each person can
Oh, and same,
download it and
same diff,
and
yeah.
print it out and write notes and
Mhm.
whatever.
So at the end of this meeting, I'm going to, I can do both, depending on how you like to access your information. And if, I'm going to presume this is like kind of drinking from a fire hose right now, that you would like the month to go through and see if you want any major changes to it, and then we vote on it next meeting? Is that,
I think that sounds reasonable. I mean, to go in and make some comments, but you just can't work on it, I forget what the word was, you can't work on it together.
Right.
multiple-
so what I mean by not working on, as a Google
Converse.
Doc, I mean, like, if we were to enable comments from all of us, because we can all see the comments, it's us working collaboratively.
And it becomes a meeting. But you
You
can
can't
share a
get-
Google Doc without allowing editing, so you can make your own notes.
I don't agree with that. You just can't work on it together at the same time and communicate.
But the
as you
notes
do
are
it.
what communicate, and even, because on the chairs meeting with Steve, this is hammered into us, and I understood it from, because we're dealing with 91A requests right now because of the Troy Murner situation at the State House. This is like, even doing social media posts, if I were to post about something that is before our committee on social media, and 4 others of you comment on that post, that's an illegal meeting.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so,
And so it's
you,
the
do you have my
same
back
thing
on
with
this?
Google Docs.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I can't remember if you were on the meeting, on the chairs meeting or not,
I
but,
wasn't, but
I
I've
do
heard
have-
internally. It's
I
the
do
same-
have,
The active commenting is the problem. Editing a document and like changing the edit and then saving and exiting, that's different, but it's the commenting and having the comments be active
right.
that makes it.
Or even collective, like, if I gave everybody editing abilities, and then it shows, like, I edited this section, because it takes a history of all the edits, right? So it'd be like, Joe edited this, I edited that, Roberta edited that, that is an illegal meeting.
But
Take it up with Steve.
All right, just to throw my 2 cents in that, nobody's making a final decision.
Right.
At a meeting, you go through the comments, and at that point in time, you can approve it or whatever, that's
Right.
an official.
But it's not the vote that makes it an official meeting. It's any discussion of a subject matter that is before that committee. Any discussion of a quorum of members about a subject matter that is before that committee.
Okay.
So I could post like, I'm having a Christmas party, and then 4 others of you could talk about it. That's not a subject that's before our committee. But if I start talking about our energy plan and 4 others of you comment, that's an illegal meeting.
so if 4 of us make comments, and then a 5th person goes in, reads the comments, and makes their own comments, that's a meeting, because it's a quorum of our board.
Discussing a matter before us.
Yeah.
As a committee, right. So I'm sorry, it's a pain. If that wasn't the case, we would not have been doing this, just me and Roberta. Right? But now that we've presented it to you, or we are presenting it to you, you all will have access to this if you don't already, and can make your own notes and edits. You just can't, like, you can't even email the whole group and say, here's what I think we should do. You can't do that.
It has to come here.
As efficient as that would be, you can't do that. It has to be here. It has to be noticed and publicly viewable.
So next time, like people come, they suggest changes that we all agree to, or a majority of us agree to. Can we vote on it as amended, the way we would for minutes, and so that we have something to give Patrick to give to the town?
Right, I'm hoping that there won't be a whole bunch of controversial changes. I'm hoping that most people, if there's any suggestions, that they're pretty, benign, and we just change it at the December meeting and vote on it, hopefully quickly.
My suggestion would be, at the next meeting, the only item on this that you are reviewing are any suggested edits. You don't read any other part of the document.
Right.
You only read any, and if there are no suggested edits,
Then we vote on
you
it.
move right to editing, because honestly, you guys have spent more time on this than when we've rewritten entire ordinances in the town.
Okay.
How do
this
you
point.
do it without illegal
Because-
meetings?
Because we basically write it, and then between then and the next meeting, you're expected to review it and bring any edits, and then unless there's something major that needs to be re-wordsmithed entirely, you would at least do your first, vote on it at that next meeting.
Okay,
Because, yeah, we just don't have time
Right.
at our meetings to go and read a document 3 or
Right.
4 times like this.
no, I,
Maybe 2 times would be the most. When we wrote the ADU ordinance, we did it maybe 2 times.
What you were describing was the original vision, and life got in the way, in a big way, multiple times.
I know, I'm just saying that I don't think anyone would say you guys haven't done more than your due diligence on
Okay.
this.
so what I will suggest then, since we already went through the whole outline, and I kind of verbally explained what was in it through the outline, and then we've actually read the heart of 5.0, which is the actions, we read that main list. I'll just say, 5.1 is efficiency, we basically talked about that, it's essentially saying town properties, we should maximize efficiency with town properties in our town fleet, and then we should provide incentives and education to the rest of the community to do the same. Then 5.2 is the clean energy generation and procurement, same thing that we've already talked about, same options that we already talked about, private incentives that we already talked about. Transportation, this is the one thing we didn't really get into. So we have all these lovely suggestions for potential public transportation, but the real thing is the idea that came up at the last meeting, as I understand it, is the potential for a rideshare service operated by the town of Newmarket, similar to Uber or Lyft. It could be available to everybody, but it's subsidized for transportationally challenged people or transportationally challenged LMI people. And that, like, if Uber can do this at a profit, perhaps Newmarket could at least break even, kind of idea. And again, private incentives, things like, adding charging stations for people to, have electric vehicles. And then 5.4 is heating, same kind of thing that we've already gone through. You'll see a lot of, and that's the end of the document, you'll see a lot of repetition. So I'll just trust everybody to read as Patrick recommended, and thank you for that cut to the chase approach. That you read it and you bring in your suggested edits at the next meeting, and then hopefully we can get it voted on as an official recommendation to the Planning Commission. And with that, I'll open up for any other comments. It is now 8:10 though, so I wanted to get to the end.
So, one of the other things we were supposed to do was that the resolution said, come up with a detailed plan for the 2030, 2050. To me, this kind of like does it now, that we don't need that additional piece.
I
Or
hopefully,
maybe we
yeah.
take this and
I think maybe
tweak it a little bit
we can
more detail.
probably tweak this a little bit, but I think we are majority of the way there to a detailed, so there,
But
Ginny, there were
We're
3
paying
plans.
professionals to do the details, and that's just fine
Right,
by me.
so we wait until we get like the master plan version
Yeah.
back and see what
Well,
they've added.
That's not what I was gonna say, is they may come back with something completely different.
Right, because we've got enough on our plate with the launching of Newmarket Community Power,
Yes.
and then I have not forgotten that back in the day, we talked about reviewing and assessing how we deal with waste management, how we deal with, and what's going on with our water. These are things that we are supposed to investigate as a committee that have taken a back seat because of energy. But yeah, I think we are a big leap there towards the comprehensive plan. There were 3 energy plans that we were tasked with. So there's the energy aggregation plan that we had to create with community power for our Newmarket Community Power,
EAG.
the EAP,
Oh, yeah.
EAP, Energy Aggregation Plan. There's the Master Energy Plan, which is the energy chapter of the Master Plan, and then the Comprehensive Plan that the resolution calls for, which is like the Resolution Energy Plan or whatever. So we feel like this is a huge step towards an
All of
eventual
that.
resolution plan. Yeah. All right. Are there any other comments, questions, concerns, additions, new business?
One thing that will help you with the document for the review for everybody, I think you can do this on the left margin. You can put line numbers so that when a person comes in, they see page 5, line 110, this is the edit. It'll save you a lot of time in trying to find where you need to be on the document.
I will do that before I share.
Right.
Anything else? New items?
Old business.
Old business, there's old business?
Well, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
all over.
Let's do it.
One of the things I asked Lindsay to take a look at, the dam, is there just a very high level of feasibility of them generating it? Is that,
It's very high level, physically possible, yes. Feasible,
Like
Not
economically
likely.
economical?
feasible. Yeah.
Probably not.
Right. Again, these are just things we're saying we would like to look into, not things
Patrick?
like we have to do.
Just, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That's rude of me.
No.
But just to recap what I saw in the minutes, I recall you explaining to us that back in the day when that was hydro, whatever powered, it was because the town controlled, or in some way, the water flow above the dam, and.
That's right. So it was actually owned by the Newmarket Manufacturing Corporation, the
Mhm.
dam was, and they also controlled the dams up at Pawtuckaway Lake. Those dams were put in by Newmarket Manufacturing Corporation so that they could create a flow of water that was good for generating power. So they would release water from those lakes up there to generate the power. So that's how they were able to do it, because there isn't enough flow rate in the Lamprey River by itself naturally to be a large source of energy.
So
It's-
who owns those other dams now?
Today, the state owns those dams,
Oh, and they're not
just
gonna
like
give
the
them up.
town owns. No, because that lake is managed as a recreational resource by
Mhm.
the state. There's a large state park there, Pawtuckaway,
Right,
where they have a beach and, lots of recreation campground and things like that. And they also are trying to work with the homeowners on the lake. Obviously, they have an interest in keeping the lake maintained at a certain level. Now, there is a requirement that they have to release water certain times in the summer if the flow becomes too low, because basically what's happening in the summer because of the change in the climate is the river is becoming so low and so warm, species that naturally exist in there can die. So they've been releasing some water from the dam when they typically wouldn't have before, to literally keep things in the river alive, because the water temperature has gotten so high in the river. So they do periodic releases, but it's not connected to power generation. It's really connected towards having some cooler water moving and higher flow rates moving through during some of the hottest parts of the year. Hottest and driest. We've had quite a few droughts in the last few years too that have made it difficult for things living in the river.
Lindsay, when you all looked into this, were we given like a rough estimate of how much energy could be generated by retrofitting versus the cost?
no.
So we don't,
That would be a pretty detailed study.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of flow analysis that goes into it, and a lot of cost estimating that go into it.
it would just be interesting to know like approximately how much energy we could even produce from that dam. Like what percentage of the town would we be talking about in terms of energy production? Just curious. Anyway, anything else? No? All right. Well, in that case, I adjourn what is
You
today?
made a motion.
November, nobody made a motion. I'm so sorry.
Next meeting is
December 31st? Oh, that was January 31st. It'd be December 20, oh dear.
Oh,
December
dear.
27th, which is fine.
Mm.
I may be fresh out of surgery, like as in surgery from the 26th. I will do my best to chair
I
the
can chair for you if you.
It's a kind of a big deal meeting because we'll be voting on a couple of things.
Yeah, I
Can
won't
we
be, I
add a
can't
Zoom
be there
component
here
to it?
that week.
You can't be there.
Be here.
Here,
I'll be there, I won't be here.
Can we add you in by Zoom?
no, it's illegal. No,
No.
yep,
Illegal?
yep. Well, this
Illegal?
is, yes, it's illegal now. It wasn't illegal during COVID and now it is.
Oh.
I- It wasn't my doing, I was on the side that said we should have remote meetings.
Mhm.
So, do we want to change the date?
There's a town council meeting on the 20th, Wednesday the 20th.
That's that important meeting where Steve is going to recommend adoption and also my birthday, and I'm planning a party. So, do we want to change it from a Wednesday, say Friday, the 29th? Will you be back?
I'm out that whole week, that Christmas week, you know, between Christmas and New Year's and away.
When do you leave? I'm gonna get you.
22nd.
How about,
Well, I mean,
Thursday, December 14th?
If-
Move it up.
Thursday, December 14th.
Yeah, I don't think there's another town meeting that day. Conservation, I think, is that could be the Conservation Commission meeting. You might want to check, Joe, on the calendar. I think they're the second Thursday of the month.
That only gives us 2 weeks for people to read this. It's 2 weeks from now.
December 14th is a conservation meeting.
Can we do Friday? Well, none of these are good for me, really.
How about December 13th?
Or,
Wednesday?
that's too soon. I think that's too soon. What about Monday, the 18th?
There's a budget committee meeting and zoning board.
Any of those people need to, I mean, does that, oh, you mean we won't have space?
The budget committee's at 6:30, I assume they're down here. And the zoning board's upstairs at 7. 19th, there's nothing currently scheduled.
19th, Tuesday the 19th.
Yeah, that gives
I've
us-
got a conflict that day. I've got another meeting.
We may just have to give up
You wanna-
having Patrick.
You want to get this to Bob by
But
the end of
Patrick, you're
December.
you're the one that's most likely to have really good edits, I think, so.
I don't. I actually think you are more than, I don't have any suggestions. I really don't. I
Okay.
think you guys have done a lot on this, and I feel like the best is to get, I think what you've done is you've gotten all your major points across, and a lot of it from here is just wordsmithing. And we already know it's gonna be handed off to
Mhm.
several different entities before that happens. So I would vote tonight to go ahead and send it. That's my feeling. Because I just don't feel like you're gonna gain that much by keeping going with this process. That's just my personal opinion is that you're ready to turn this in. And, you know, at the point of when the public gets an opportunity to comment, that could be a time where you could come back and if you really feel strongly about something you feel is being left out, or you could also come to any planning board meeting when it's being discussed and bring up any important notes that you wanted. But as far as like, I think we're just down to wordsmithing,
Mhm.
I really do, and I don't think that that's
We don't need to.
essential for the next part of the process.
The only thing that was brought up while in discussions that I really want to add is the point that Newmarket Community Power in the long term is projected to actually create revenue for the town, which can be used to go back into these projects, which could be used to fund those potential tax exemption incentives and other incentives and community generation projects. And I would just like to mention that that is a potential source of revenue or of funding for those projects. Other than that, like if I made that change right now, does anybody really just want to just look at it over the next few weeks?
Probably not.
Does everybody else other than Patrick feel ready to vote on this tonight with that change that I just mentioned?
I do.
I'd be willing to.
Joe?
I'm fine, yeah.
Okay. Do you all trust me to just make that change, or should we?
Well, why don't we stipulate what your change is in the motion? So just cite what section and where do you want to put it?
Okay, good point.
And then we can.
In
vote.
section 5.0, 5.0, 5 point, where do I mention it first, is the question.
Yeah, you already mentioned the potential for,
I didn't mention the revenue.
oh, okay.
So 5.0, item 3 and 4. Items, so I'll say item 3, and then that'll be the mention of it. I guess I'll make the motion because I have to wordsmith this motion. I move adoption of the proposed Newmarket Master Plan suggestions with the addition in 5.0 item 3 of the potential revenue generated by Newmarket Community Power being used as a source of funding for such programs.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we did it. Okay, yay,
Yes.
yay. Oh my God, this is off my plate. Do you know how long I've had my to-do list? EE plan, every to-do list. Yay. Okay, in that case, I still share with everybody, but I'll make sure that you have the official to get to the commission.
Yeah, or I think you could pass it on to Joe, who can then just pass it on to
All right,
Mark.
sounds good.
Also, please include me, because I'm on the master plan subcommittee, and I can make sure that that's filed.
Perfect.
There you go.
Oh,
Thank you, Lindsay.
yes. And I just have to say, Bart was so instrumental in one of these bills that it's going to pass, like we already did. I'm so excited, the ADU bill, which basically almost mirrors our ADU stuff that we did. But it's going to be for the whole state. Anyway,
You're gonna send me for Lindsay?
yeah, no, well, you're on the committee email, right?
I don't know, maybe? I'm not sure if I've been added.
I'll copy
Yes.
you, and I'm still not sure if, Ginny, are you on the committee email?
Yes,
Ginny is on the committee, okay.
I got your email wrong at one point.
So I'm going to add this sentence, but I'm happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well,
That's
no,
it.
wait a minute, next meeting? Did we
The
still-
next, I'm sorry, I'm just in
Well,
such a
now
hurry.
we could just
'Cause
still
we
make
do
it.
have to talk about, public, the education stuff there for CPCNH.
So with the understanding that Patrick is basically going to be gone no matter what day we put it on,
Sorry.
it's okay. But the 27th still kind of being difficult, I think. What's this the 29th look like? I should be more physically mobile by then.
It's a Friday, the 29th, nothing on the town side.
Okay, other than Patrick, who will still be gone, does anybody else have a conflict?
The town hall is closed earlier on Fridays, I think.
They'll let us in.
Okay.
They'll let us in, right?
Friday night, I have a badge to get us in, Lindsay does too.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna show
Oh, okay. Joe let us in. We'll have, so do people still want to go with 7, since we're kind of doing this weird meeting? Okay.
7 PM the 29th?
Is everybody okay, whether you can make it or not, are you okay with us meeting at 7 PM on December 29th, which is a Friday?
Yes.
Okay. Then, so shall it be written, so shall it be done. Our next meeting is Friday, December 29th at 7 PM in this room. Now, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
See most of y'all in December.
yeah. Yes, mine.